Cafe, where two brothers solve all the world's problem issues, one topic at a time. This is Common Sense Cafe, raw and unedited. Why? Because we don't have an editor. All right, man. So we're back recording another. This is for posterity. I just know. I just know. 30 years from now, they're going to look these up and just go back to them. I can imagine a Harrison Ford type movie where they uncover this wonderful library of electronic video blogs, and on the top it just is in marble. It's called Common Sense Cafe.
Oh,
I can see civilizations built rise from the ashes of defeat based on our common sense.
Great aspiration there.
Mm-hmm. All right. So Common Sense Cafe blog, commonsensecafe.blog.
commonsensecafe.blog. All one.
That is our website. Go to our website. Leave us a message.
No hyphen on cafe. Just
no hyphen. We're not hypheners. We don't. We're not anti-hypheners either. Now, I don't want anybody to get that. But it's Common Sense Cafe .blog. Go there.
Blog. BLOG.
LOG. Leave us a message. Check out some of our older videos. Keep up to date on what we're doing and what some of the topics will be. Maybe we can post on there some upcoming topics too. Also, you can find us on Facebook at Common Sense Cafe.
Yeah.
There's
and on YouTube.
YouTube, yeah. YouTube.
They tell me we're going to be on Instagram and I guess Instagram. Oh, and Twitter. We're going to be on Twitter too, but with our writing stuff. Instagram, I don't think videos can't be very long on Instagram, can it?
I have no idea.
I don't
know what Instagram is. So we are the judges there. Well, we're back for
might be on TikTok before we're through.
I didn't even know what.
You haven't even seen that, have you?
What's the other one? Snapchat. I didn't even know what Snapchat was for.
Oh yeah, I've never used it.
Snapchat.
I've seen it.
It's a catchy name. I wish I'd have come up with it.
Yeah.
But
Snapcat.
Yeah. I was thinking that maybe that's one of the things that we ought to do is come up with a bunch of names and go patent them or buy them or whatever and own those things, because you never know when somebody's going to want it.
Right.
To be rich. So we got another sprint for tonight. Is that what we're going to do? Another sprint?
Yeah, doing a sprint.
All right. What? Tell us our subject matter.
Well, tell them what we just finished up on another.
Yeah, just a short while ago, we COVID. We talked about COVID. We talked about we've done some statistics and everything. We talked about how that the gathering of the information and the long-term benefits of gathering information and basing all of any death based on COVID or any death that was related in any way to COVID marked as primary cause of death being COVID. And that information is going to be dissected, and in dissecting it, I say that the long-term benefit does not necessarily outweigh the short-term issue. And we talked about how it compares to other deaths, whether it be deaths by heart disease, lung disease, diabetes, whatever. But we talked about the difference in the numbers there. So that's where we jumped off at.
Yeah, and I got all these from the CDC website, and I got them from September the 16th is when I pulled the information. So on December one thing it did give was on December the 15th, it told how many people died of COVID on December the 15th.
This is the United States number. The entire United States.
I guess. I think it. Yes, I think this particular number is the United States.
Okay.
I think
September 15th. We'll
Okay,
know
so-
how low it is or high astronomical.
you'll know. You'll know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll know.
Okay.
Our followers are smart. They have common sense. They'll figure this out.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. They got common sense. Good old common sense people. And again, we're not making anything light of people that die.
No,
of COVID.
absolutely not.
Okay, so the number is that on September the 15th, 2020, but that was hard to get out. 2020? Yeah.
Yeah.
961 people died
Okay.
in the United States. 961 people died of COVID. Doesn't that sound terrible?
Yep.
Or does it?
Almost 1,000 people. Yeah, 1,000 people losing their life. That's terrible.
Almost 1,000 people died. Well, there's another death that makes that look very small.
What is that? What?
Let's.
So you're talking about there's another people group
another
that have died that are from a different cause that's
Right.
greater than this. Okay.
And it doesn't. And here's the thing: these people died, and their death. You know, we were talking about people that die of cancer, people that die of heart disease. These people that die aren't counted in deaths.
Is that right? So this is outside of the CDC's number of people that die each year.
Right. Like I told you on the last video, in 2017, 2.8 million people died in the United States during that year. And do you know that these people that died were not counted in that number?
Then their life had no value. There was no value placed on this life.
That's right. That's right.
So what's the kicker?
So I guess they know by now we're talking about abortion.
Abortion.
Let me give you some numbers. I like numbers. They're friendlier than people. So
Yeah. They tell the truth more than people do.
oh, they do, don't they? Sometimes.
More truthful.
Let me give you some numbers here. 18% of the population in the United States, 18% are Hispanic and Latino.
Right. Yep.
They're the second largest ethnic group in the United States, white being the number one, the largest being 60% of,
Right.
just about 60% of the population of the United States. But then third in line are blacks, which is 13% of the population are blacks.
Mm-hmm.
That's 44 million blacks, about 59 million Hispanic and Latino. So, and 6% Asian, so, which is growing fast, Asian. Now, let me give you some abortion numbers. What did we say? How many people died on the 15th? 961. Almost 1,000 people died of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And we're panicking. We're panicking. In 2017, 2,332 babies were aborted every day.
Right. Yep.
More than twice, more than double the amount of people that die from COVID every day. That many were aborted. That many people, that many children. I mean, you know, we say babies, we say children, we say newborns, people.
Well,
people. That would be mine and your, you know.
Yeah, we're desensitized to that, though.
Oh, yeah.
We're desensitized.
I mean,
it goes back
they wouldn't
to
be real people, would they? They'd be stick people.
It goes back to the liberal interpretation of the Constitution of what death is and what life is. Because in that liberal interpretation, they've deemed that as a fetus. Therefore, it's not, it's not real life. and because of Roe versus Wade and the abortion issue and everything, the conservative interpretation is life and death is death, and if you take someone's life, that's murder. That's a conservative interpretation. But if you go to the liberal interpretation, that's not necessarily so. That is inside a woman is still not a human being and has no rights.
Right. Let me give you some more here. 808 black babies were aborted every day, 2017. Now, there's a reason I want to point that out, and I'm going to get there in just a minute. But here's the total births. Okay, so 851,000 abortions in 2017. 851,000.
Almost a million people.
Almost a million.
Yeah.
4.7. There were 4.7 million births. 4.7 million births. That's 18% of all births were aborted.
Yep, of all pregnancies.
Of all pregnancies. And I hope I have these. I've got the numbers right. Whether I've got it. Okay, like 8 of black babies. That there were 870 total births of black babies. There's 870 total births in 2017.
No, that.
I don't.
Sure about that statistic?
I'm not sure if that includes the aborted babies. I don't know if that's 870 pregnancies or total birth. I think that's total births. Yeah, that's total pregnancies.
Well, let's hang on before you go. You're saying 807.
870,000.
There you go. 800. You said
Did
870.
I not say that?
Yeah, 870,000 births.
870,000 births in 2017 were of black babies. 295,000, with 300,000 were aborted. 33% of total births were aborted of black babies. 33%, 1/3 of all black babies born were aborted.
Yeah.
Now, next, white, 12%. That's still terrible, but 12% of all births were aborted from white children. 18% of all babies that were born in 2017, or 18% of the births were aborted.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: What do you contribute to the discrepancy in the ethnicity of pregnancy? What do you think contributes to it?
It is training to start with. It's cultural acceptance. It's accepted more. There's not the peer pressure. But let me go deeper where it started from. That's where I want to go tonight. Is it started from, now here's and we're going to have to talk later about the difference between Democrats and people that vote Democrat, and and liberals versus people that vote them. Because we're not throwing everybody in the same bucket. But let me say, the Democrat Party, the ruling members of the Democrat Party, and we know that the lady that started the abortion movement was am I right by saying she was a white supremacist, or she was against blacks? I have to go get that story straight. But the Democrat Party are a bunch of rich people making laws and being voted in by poor people. The Democrat Party are a bunch of very wealthy people in Congress who get there only because they win the poor people's vote by telling the poor people that they're all about them. But the thing is, they can't get elected if they bring those people out of poverty.
Okay,
No.
so there you go. That's the one thing I wanted to talk about was
Okay.
the discrepancy in the ethnicity of abortion probably deals mainly with economics. It deals with poverty.
Yeah.
The African American community is more impoverished than any other segment of the ethnicity,
They are.
ethnical groups. So I would think that somehow, somewhere along the line, the African American community, because of poverty, has begun to resort to using abortion as a method of birth control, which is something that was perpetuated, as you're talking about, by wealthy, liberal mindset. How do we correct this? Because and of course, I'm going to tell you that I'm not a Trump fan. I don't blow the trumpet for Trump. I think the man needs to stay off of Twitter. I think he does a lot of things that are borderline unethical. However, he's an economical genius. And we were on the verge of doing what the Democrats are afraid of, and that's breaking the poverty cycle in the ethnic communities. Now, how do we get this ethnic community to a level of economics to where they don't need to rely on abortion as a method of birth control?
Two separate things here. Bringing impoverished people out of poverty is one side of that you're talking about, the economics. Here's the other side. The Black community has to reach out to the Black community, the intelligent, common sense Black community has to reach out and doing it. You see this walk away movement and all this. I mean, just more Blacks will vote Republican this year than ever before. I believe that. I really believe that, and I'm waiting to see the statistics after the election. But they've got to realize that, hey, we are killing ourselves. They know they're killing themselves in big cities like Chicago, where they have the gangs and the murder rates. But when we can't, as a ethnic group, we can't expect to continue to grow and have a stronger, more in our society and in our nation if we are killing 33% of our babies every year.
And I agree.
If they look at it in no other way but to say that's 40, what was it? 280,000 people, more Black people. Wait, 300,000. There's 300,000 more Black people that would be alive today if we had not had abortions in 2017.
All right, let's talk about the African American leaders who can and will speak into that.
One more statistic, real quick. From 2000 to 2020, 8 million Blacks have been aborted. 8 million.
Yeah, but so who's going to speak inside of that community? What person from that ethnicity is going to speak to that community? Because you said that the African American community needs to have good common sense leadership, stand up and say, we've got to stop doing this. So who do you see that's on the stage today who can and will do that?
They are younger. They're just coming into light. The names.
Do you have any names? Do you have
the names? Slip me at the moment.
Well, I'll throw one out there. How about Candace Owens?
Oh yes, absolutely, yes, yeah. I'm a big fan of Candace.
Me too. I think Candace Owens is a brilliant young lady. I think in a different generation, I think Condoleezza Rice has a great grip on the climate in the African American community and also in the political arena. I also think Ben Carson I think they need to wake up and listen to Ben Carson. I think Ben
Yeah.
Carson has a. Here's the thing. So, real quick, slavery was a white issue. It wasn't an African American issue. It was a white issue. It was a violent white culture that perpetuated slavery. That was what it was. Until the white culture began to deal with its own issue of violence, slavery could not be abolished.
Yeah, blacks couldn't abolish slavery.
No,
Whites
absolutely.
had to abolish it.
Well, it's the same thing with the equal rights movement. So the African American community now needs to speak to itself about its violent culture. And once they begin to deal with that, I believe, because we had to, and not just from the 400 years or that Americans have been around. We're talking about we had to deal with about 1,000 years of the violent culture of the Caucasian or white, really not white, European, and it wasn't just against African Americans. It was English against the Scottish, English against the
Oh yeah,
the Irish, the Italians against the Germans. You know, depending on how far back you want to go. So we had to deal with that violent culture that we perpetuated, and one of the offshoots of that was slavery. So now I believe I would say the same thing about Mexico. I think nobody can fix Mexico until the Mexican people begin to recognize and deal with the violent culture of Mexico. Yeah. So, but I think Condoleezza Rice, I think Candace Owens, I think Ben Carson, all of these people have great things to say to that.
I love Ben Carson. I mean, his story, he's a smart man. He is intelligent and common sense intelligent too, not just book smart.
That's right. Yeah.
The guy, if you need a book to read, and even if you're not a big reader, read Gifted Hands, the Ben Carson story. Oh, you got it. It will inspire you to no end. Have your if you have teenage children, have them read that book, Gifted Hands, the Ben Carson story. Now, to say that I love Carson, I like what he's doing, but he's a soft-spoken person, and it's hard to. He stands for the right thing, but he's not a loud voice in the black community. Condoleezza Rice has just slipped off into the first portion of the world. I don't think she's vocal anymore. I don't think she's a dominant factor anymore. I think it's the generation right below us, the 30-somethings year olds and early 40s. I think that generation are the ones, and maybe late 20s, that are really going to drive and pull the black community out of their impoverished way of thinking. You know, poverty is about not having money. It's about a way of thinking.
Well, it is about a way of thinking, but it is also about opportunity. Now, let me ask you this though: when the inner city, speaking of inner city, Detroit, Chicago, some of these, when the life expectancy of an African American male is about 23, 24 years old, what could be done in that culture to break that cycle so they can get to be 30 and 35 years old, where life begins to mushroom out and you begin to see things from a different light? So how can they do that? What do you think?
Man, it is tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen stories of communities fighting back, and that's really what it takes. It takes communities fighting back and say, we're taking back our 3 blocks, 4 blocks, 5 blocks, 6 blocks. We're taking back our neighborhood, and people in there, and they have to have help, and they have to have help from the people that they are, that a large portion are fighting against right now, and that's the police. They've got to have help from the police to keep that stuff down, the violence and the drugs and all that. But the community has to step up. to do that, and it's not easy, and not everybody is natured to do that.
It takes a lot of energy. I would put a little bit of the onus on the church and say that the church has a responsibility inside those communities to take a hardline stand and to offer opportunities that can break this cycle. But we're running out of time. But certainly, a horrible statistic in and of itself that we have. What was the number? 851,000 children aborted in 2017. 2,300 children a day being aborted in 2017. Yeah. And before we get into a lot of people commenting and saying, well, what about incest? What about rape? Go and look up the statistics. What percentage of abortions? It's less than 1% in statistics I've read.
You don't make good laws on the exception.
No, you can't. And also, then there's the moral argument of what if the mother's life is in danger. I'm going to tell you that I can only speak from my own personal, and women are not going to like this. They're going to say, well, you can't have children, so you can't say that. Yeah. But on my own personal experience, as much as I love my wife and everything, and I would want God so much to not take my wife and at the same time not take my baby. I think that is a divine selection that I would have to leave to God. Yeah. Well, and I wouldn't want to, but I would have to, because that is proper. That's the moral compass I live by.
But I also believe that that's an old argument. Because the day and time that we live in, I don't believe that hardly ever does it come down to choice of one life or the other. They can work miracles. I mean, they can go in and perform heart surgery on a baby that's still in the womb.
Yeah.
They can save a mother's life.
Yeah. But statistically, there is that small anomaly that is there. Statistically, it is there.
Maybe so.
And so the argument can be made, but the argument is not a strong argument because it's such a small statistical anomaly inside of the abortion community. So, which would get me into my argument against federal funding for Planned Parenthood. And I don't, we don't want to get into that tonight, but certainly it leads us to that.
There's one thing, we won't get into, but there's one thing to set a law saying we will allow this, but then to set a law that says we allow it, but then to fund and promote it.
Yeah,
it went from being illegal to being not just legal, but promoted. Well, our tax dollars go to promote abortion.
Yeah, and we see the same thing in other areas, maybe not financially, but certainly verbally and vocally. So let's leave with this thought, though. You started off with COVID deaths. We're probably looking at, in a 1 year period, we're probably looking at 200 and maybe 5,000, 203,000 deaths is probably what we'll wind up with this year. Maybe 203,000, 205,000 deaths. Something horrible, horrible, horrible statistic, but nothing compared to the 851,000 children who will be aborted this year. Our heart breaks for the unborn children who are never given a chance, and for the mothers who have been faced with this decision and for some reason feel there's no other way out. My heart breaks for all of them, but certainly for the unborn children. And our nation is reflecting that type of lack of moral compass more and more each day. And I know we'll get, if anybody ever listens to this, we'll get flack back about me saying that abortion is immoral, but it is immoral.
Yeah,
murder is immoral.
Let me say, my mom was not married when she became pregnant with me.
Yep.
And the choice was there.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful that God rescued me, or that God gave my mom the moral conviction, the godly conviction not to have abortion.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Yeah, it would have been, it'd take twice as long if I had to play both roles on this video. So if you wouldn't have been here, I'd have been doing both parts. Well,
yeah, that'd been tough for you.
Yeah, it would have been. It'd been rough. Our we're going to close this video, and suggestion for a young lady who may watch this video and she's faced with this tough decision. What do you say to them?
Let me say that I would say this, not without going into the spiritual or the religious Christian viewpoint, but let me say this to any mother that may, like you said, be watching this and considering abortion. Let me say that that child you're thinking of aborting could be the most precious thing in your life.
Yep.
You don't know how proud that child can make you.
That's right.
It could be the talents that it is destined to have, the things it can accomplish in this life that are far beyond even things that you've accomplished, and that child can make you so proud. And the loving arms around you from a child, there's just no replacing it. There's nothing better than the loving arms of a child wrapped around your neck and saying, Mama, I love you. Mama, I love you. And wish my mom was here today that I could still hug her and say, Mom, I love you.
I'll address those who may have already had an abortion. I want you to know that there's emotional healing that can come from having good relationships. And of course, part of that is having the right relationship with Christ. But the pain, the anguish that you might feel, the depression that you might go through, the questions that you might have, God can help heal those things. And there's always somewhere to turn. Don't be in despair. And certainly, if you watch this and you've had an abortion, please do not feel like we're judging you and condemning you.
No.
Our heart just breaks that people get into these situations and make these choices. And moms, remember, if you've got a child and you know you're not going to be able to take care of it, you're not going to be able to be the one that's there for it, somebody else can love that child just like it was there.
That's right.
But if you've been through the abortion process, we want you to know that our heart breaks for you. And if there are lingering effects to it, we encourage you to find somebody to talk to and don't suffer through that alone. All right, because we want you to be happy and healthy, like any other individual in our world and in our communities. Okay. Well, we'll wrap this up and look forward to our next session. And do we have some random topics you want to throw out real quick of what we might be talking about soon? Democrat politicians versus people who vote Democrat. You said there's a
exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And also, we need to talk about people getting out to vote. I give a teaser. 38% of the population live in the South.
Yeah.
How that gives so many times the Southern states feel like it's the Northern states that elect the president. But
there's a voice in the South.
There is.
Yeah. And talking about voting, I think I'll just go ahead and mail my vote in. So.
I want to talk about that too. Yeah, we definitely.
Y'all go on to the poll. I'm just going.
We need to talk about that.
All right. Well, we look forward to being with y'all again. This is Common Sense Cafe. I'm Jeff.
And Kevin.
God bless you.